Welcome csc121 class. We're just going to review a little exercise in case you missed class. This is just a little exercise called ex2-address, and it just reviewed variables, reassignment, variable names, and formatting with commas, and outputting kind of as a string. So using the print function to output basically a string with our variables in. So it's pretty simple stuff, but it's just to overview some beginning concepts in chapter 2. And what I'm going to do is to make this easier so you could do it at home is go to the web and go to Repel It. So this is my Repel It, and this is a finished product here. Now I just ran it. Let me run it again, and if you're ever in Repel It, you need to get rid of what's showing there and kind of start fresh. This little X here kind of clears everything. So I'm just going to run it, and then we'll go back and do it from the beginning. So I'm going to run it here, and it's just a little prompt here, enter first name, and I'll just put Steve, and I'll hit enter, and Smith, enter, and you could put in a fake address. You don't have to put your own, so I'll just put 1, 2, 3, 4 for street number, and then it's kind of like a database, so it's treating these all as separate elements. Street name, I'll just put Hilltown Drive, and there's a city, I'll just put Dover, because that's easier to type. And for state, and I put 2 letter in parentheses there, and I'll just put NJ. I won't even put it in caps, because we'll put a little function to make it forced to all caps, so you could just put lowercase caps. And then the zip code, I'll just put 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, just so I know it's a 5-digit zip code. We could eventually make sure that we put conditional statements so that we could force it to be 5 digits and 2 digits and things like that. But just for now, we're just reviewing some real basic stuff here. Now, if I hit enter, what happens is it just basically displays it on 3 lines. And we're just using 3 print functions to do that, so it's nothing really special here. Steve Smith is just putting together all these variables that we created from inputs. So we have Steve Smith, 1, 2, 3, 4, Hilltown Drive, and I put it all together on 3 lines like that. So that's about it. Again, nothing really special or complex here, but just introduction to variables and also using this input function that you could see this here. So we're going to start from scratch. So I'm going to go to my repels, and I'll make a new one, and I'll go down here. That was that red plus sign and the lambda sign, and I'll click on Python, and you can get rid of this default name here, and I'll just call it ex2-address. I'll just put a V. I'm just putting a V after it because I'm recording a video, so I already have one called address, so I'll just do -V, but you don't need that. You could just call it ex2-address, and you don't really need a description, so that's fine if you don't do that. And I'm just going to start here. Now, remember, you can do this stacked, or you could go to your settings over here and you could do it side by side. So whatever you prefer, if you want it side by side, you could do it like that too. But depending if some of your line lengths are going to get long, then I would do it stacked. So I think I'm going to do it stacked because I think my line lengths might get a little bit longer as we put our strings together. And remember, you could change your theme to dark. Some people like working in the dark theme. I don't want everything, since I have my terminal dark, I don't want everything dark. And when I work in VS Code, I'll probably have that dark. So I'll leave this light. So I'll go back and leave it light. It'll probably be easier to see. And font size, I'll make it large so it's easier to see when I'm doing the recording here. What I'm going to start with is just make some variables, and I'll just make some variables for fname. And when we did in class, we set variables for the actual name, but what we're going to do is we're going to set the variable to be whatever the input is. So we're going to put an input there, and then we're just going to put a string in the input that's going to say enter first name. You could put a colon there. You could even put a space, so then when the prompt comes up, there'll be a little space there when the prompt comes up. You don't even need anything in here, but then there'll just be a prompt down here, and people might not know what to do. So this enter first name tells people what to put there. So once you have this, and again, we're using a variable. We're basically using a variable assignment. We're using the equal sign to say that the variable fname equals that. And remember, you can't call this one name. You'll get some squiggly line here because that's not allowed. You can't use any keywords that are used in Python. I don't think you could start it with a $sign. You're getting a squiggly line. You can use an underscore, but there's special reasons to use an underscore. You could use capital letters if you want, but I prefer to keep it lowercase and keep them very simple, and I'll just use fname and make sure they're things that you understand. So I'll start with that, and I'll have fname and lname and stuff like that. And then I'm going to copy this because I don't want to have to retype all this again. And I'll go through and I'll do lname, and this will be input last name. Probably don't have to watch me do all this, so I'll do some of this and probably pause it, but I'm going to have first name, last name. See here, if I let it just zip, if it shows up blue, this will be a hint that it's a Python keyword, so we just want to put code there, even though it's longer. And I put 2 letter here so people can make it like an address, so they actually put in a 2-letter state code. So I think that's all we need there. First name, last name, and I put st_num, st_name. Keep it short, but so it still makes sense. And city, state. So I think I have everything I need. We'll see when it prints out. Now, if we go to print it out, nothing's going to happen because we don't have any print statements. So we're going to make a couple print statements, and we'll do them 3 in a row so we could have lines here. And you could even do this. Will probably even help. If you just do an empty print statement, it'll kind of put a space when you see your prompts down here. So that'll help. So I'll just do another one here, make another print statement. And then in here, what I'm going to do is just going to put in my variables. And we're going to use a different method. Since we're not having any like strings in here, we're not having any text in here, we're just going to have basically whatever the inputs are, we're just going to put variables and separate them by commas. So I'm just going to put on this second one here, because the first one is and I'll put a comment, and in this one I'll just put fname, and we'll use, this goes back to Python 2.7, but we'll use commas here. We could still use that. We'll use fname, lname, and they put default spaces in between when they output. So if you need to take them away, you can, but they're actually in there now, so that'll be what we want. And then I'll just copy this, since I don't have to type print again, and that'll be first name, last name. This one will be st_num, and this one will be st_name. So it'll be the whatever 1234 Hilltown Drive, whatever anybody inputs. And then for my last print statement, I'm going to put city, state, and zip code. Now I don't have to put commas in here. You can if it looks better. If you think it looks better like that, just, if it's easier for you to read, but you don't have to put commas in there. They will not affect the commas that display. There's going to be an automatic comma. So I'll take them out just so you can see that it still will put commas in there. And here they will not, unless I have an extra. I don't think I have an extra space. No, just looks like there's an extra space. So everything looks okay. I'm not getting any red lines that there's any kind of syntax errors or anything like that. And this saves automatically, so you don't have to go resave again or anything like that. So we have 4 print statements. One creates a space in between our prompts, and then we're just going to print those. So let's see what happens here. We're going to run it, and I'm just going to put Steve and Smith, and then the street number, I'll just do 1, 2, 3, 4. And the name, I'll use Hilltown Drive. And then city, I'll just put Dover, because that's easy to type. And there it is, Steve Smith, and everything looks okay except the Dover, New Jersey. Now, it doesn't matter right now, even though we're entering numbers, we don't have to worry about integers or anything like that. We don't have to convert anything to integers right now because we're not doing any calculations. We're not adding anything together. If we were using plus signs down here and we had numbers, we would have an issue. We'd have to convert them to strings. But right now, they come out of here automatically as strings. When you do an input, they come out as strings. So we should be okay for what we're doing right now. We don't have to worry about that. If you get a message about that, then you could just either convert it one way or the other to a string or to an integer if you need to do any calculations. But they will come out as strings. Even if you put it in a number, the zip code will come out as a string when you put it together. So all that we're going to do here is just go to state, and we're going to, this is called reassignment. We're just going to take state again. We're saying, okay, state originally is what they put in, but then we're just going to say state equals state, and we're going to use dot upper, and it's a function, so we have to put the parentheses there. And this is the upper function. And you can always look this up if you get confused between another language or something or JavaScript. But this basically puts whatever they put in there, converts it to uppercase, like capital letters. So when we do that again, if you run it again, and I'll clear it, and I'll run it again, and I'll do the same thing, Steve. I'll use lowercase again, and there it is. And now you can see it converted it. The lowercase nj converted it to capital letters because I use this upper function, and there's tons of things that we're going to learn about doing that. But again, this is just a real basic assignment we did in class just to get used to using Repellet, getting used to use the input function, which we're using basically a prompt kind of string in here, which will allow us to kind of prompt as we work in this kind of terminal area down here. And we used a reassignment here by saying take state, whatever you had state was, and then also convert it to uppercase. So that's why we say state again. So we make sure that we're saying it's state to uppercase and not anything else. So, and we're using this kind of comma formatting method here for the print statements, and it puts a space in there. If you ever want to take it out for whatever reason, I mean, we don't have a reason to do that, but if I decided my name's Steve Smith was going to be all one name, I could put, you have to put a comma here so it recognizes that there's something else here, and you could put sep, and it'll override the space that's there. So if you say sep equals nothing, if you put a quotes with nothing in it at all, no space at all, what it'll do when you run it again. And this time what it did is, even though I spelled Smith wrong, I put a capital M in there, it took out the space. By using this SEP here, it took out the space. You know, if I wanted to do, you know, a dash, it would basically go here and put a dash in between Steve Smith. But what you do is you share, and you just go to the share link, and it'll be highlighted. You need to copy it. Do Command-C on Mac, Control-C if you're on Windows, and copy it. And then you can go here to your My Warren, and I'm already in the course here for csc121. And then if you go to your coursework, and I actually put 2 together because they're real short exercises, and I put EX2 and EX3 together, so I'll just click on this link. And what you could do to share it is just go to add a comment and put a link here and just paste the URL and target a new window. This is helpful, so when I click on the link, it'll open up in a new tab, and then I don't have to hit the back button. And that's it. That's all you have to do. If you do a second one, you could just hit a return and you know, add a new link and put a second one here and make sure it's to a new window, and then you could have both exercises here. But this is the same one, so I'll get rid of it, but we are going to put 2 in there. So that's basically EX2. So I'll save that, and then I can go and click on your link and know that it's there. So again, just real simple stuff, just going over variable assignment, creating variables, assigning them, using input, using strings here, doing print statements, just real basic stuff. Doing an upper, we used an upper function here, so obviously we'll be doing a lot more, but this is just a little introduction, EX2.